Hi, and welcome back to the Revolutionized Podcast. I'm Peggy Caruso, and I'm the owner of Life Coaching and Beyond, certified executive and personal development coach, author of 4 books, the 4th one to be released this fall in 2019, and 8-time entrepreneur. So today I have a very interesting guest. His name is Mike Buerk, and he has a company, Summit Consulting Services. So welcome, Mike.
Thanks, Peggy. Glad to be here.
Good. So first of all, before we get started, everybody that I have as a guest, we take what they do and intertwine it in coaching. Because coaching, as you know, I do executive and personal development. So it's both personal and professional. So first of all, start by telling me a little bit about your business.
My business, the name of the business is Summit Consulting Services. I started off years ago providing electrical consulting services to mainly industrial customers. Over the past few years, we've grown considerably. We design and build control systems. We have an in-house control panel shop. We're up to about 6 employees right now, and business is growing considerably as we branched out to beyond industrial into the oil and gas industry as well.
Well, that's very interesting. Do you find, owning your own business, it's difficult sometimes to balance it with your personal life?
Very much so. Again, back years ago when I started off, it was just me. And in some ways it was easier. I could kind of come and go on my own schedule and take care of personal items. But now that I have business associates and employees, I find it's a little bit more difficult to maintain that balance. So, with some coaching, I do feel like I've gained quite a bit on being able to handle that and manage that well.
I think everybody runs into that here and there, is finding that balance to leave home at home and work at work, especially if we have difficulties, because we all do, we're human. So if you have an argument at home or whatever, it's really hard to go to work and then leave that.
It really is, and even when I am at home, everybody has other activities they enjoy. So aside from feeling, that you're spending enough time at home, you also want to be able to dedicate time to the things that help you relax and things you enjoy. I mean, for me personally, it's bicycling, and I have a group of guys that I ride with a couple nights a week, and I'm to the point now in my life where, that's carved out of my schedule, it's set in stone, and nothing interferes with that, and it's an important thing for me.
Yeah, you've been around me a lot throughout the years. We're good friends, and you know how I always say personal and professional go hand in hand, but I always talk about it's important to have a me day or me time.
Absolutely.
Everybody needs that. Doesn't mean you don't love your family or you don't love your job, but sometimes you just need some self-reflection time too. You know that, like in coaching and different aspects, we always talk about feelings, and nobody likes to talk about feelings. So I was thinking about you with that, and how feelings can also sometimes play a role in business. Do you agree with that?
They absolutely can. I had an incident recently with one of my business associates that he was quite upset about a certain situation that happened. And I respect that. I was mad as well. But you need to get beyond being mad. You need to get beyond other people's feelings and try to cut to the core of the situation and look at it and see what is in everybody's best interest. And while I recognize his feelings of anger and his feelings of being treated misfairly by this particular customer, you need to cut past all that and cut through the fog and respect everybody's feelings, but again, try to salvage the situation and come up with a creative solution. And you can't come up with that creative solution to a problem if you're so blinded by being mad about the situation. So while you need to recognize those feelings, you also need to put them in their proper place and get to the meat of the matter.
I would agree with that. Everybody's entitled to their feelings. I teach that a lot.
Yep.
Just because you don't agree with them and just because you don't have that same thought process doesn't make them wrong, and it doesn't make them right. You just have to learn how to respect each other. Do you think it's hard when you're really angry to calm yourself down, though? I mean, that's part of that me time that.
It absolutely is, and just to build on this a little further, the whole respecting other people's feelings is by no means just a business principle or a personal. It applies to all areas of your life. I use it with my kids, with my wife, with business associates. You got to respect those feelings, but you need to get past the anger, like you just mentioned. And for me personally, I always sleep on something before I make a major decision. Last night I was really upset about a situation. I need to sleep on it, get past the anger, and then start getting creative and finding a way to rectify the problem or the situation. And again, that applies to whether it's in business or in my personal life.
Right. You know what I would say, don't keep it in your mind too long because it's a
Right.
negative and you got to make that a positive.
Right.
One of the things I find, and I don't know if you agree with or not, but it helps to focus on what the person does right. You know, it's easy to focus on why you're mad and what they're doing wrong. But if you take a step back, and then I always tell people, especially like in relationships, to make a list. You should have a list that's ready in your mind at all times of what you love about every person in your life that you have a relationship with. Even if they're not real close to you, there has to be something they're doing right. And why that is because when they do something wrong, you need to focus on what they do right.
And pretty much anybody that's that close to you in your life, whether it's in a personal or business environment, absolutely does things right. I mean, nobody can argue with that. So it is really important to focus on what they do right, and also try to really understand where their feelings, if they're feelings of anger or being mad, try to understand where they're coming from. Because a lot of times, it helps you to understand the whole situation and be more creative in coming up with a solution to the problem by understanding what they're going through. Don't just look at it from your standpoint and saying, well, that guy's being unreasonable. I don't know why he's so mad about this situation. Really try to understand where the other person's coming from.
Do you think people get more frustrated at work or at home?
Oh, I don't think there's a distinction more one than the other. I think feelings are feelings, whether it's at work or at home. And I think that you just need to understand those feelings, acknowledge those feelings. Don't try to tell them their feelings are wrong, because they're their feelings. You have no right to do that. You need to respect that. And again, it doesn't matter if it's a business associate, whether it's your spouse or your kids, everybody has feelings, and try to understand that.
And this question is no right or wrong answer. It's relative to the individual. But do you find compromise is hard?
I think compromise, some people have more trouble with it than others, but I think a lot of times that's the answer to these situations. If you can come up with a compromise that maybe some people have to give a little bit and everybody tries to meet in the middle, that many times compromise is the answer, rather than just walking away from it saying, oh, well, it's a done deal, we can't do anything about it. There's not a situation like that. I think you can always come up with a compromise.
I agree. And I always tell people you don't have to give in to everything, but there are some things that just aren't worth disagreeing. You know, I hate to say the word arguing, but disagreeing on. And sometimes, like, people will ask me, well, what if it's a major thing? Like, what if it's about your spouse and it's a house decision and you absolutely hate something and your spouse really loves it? How do you come to that? I always say there's a solution to every problem. So you can kind of take your tastes and bring them together and find, you know, something to compromise on. Or for me, and I've had to work on it for years, it's just material. And so I value people and time more than materials. So if it really makes you happy to put a purple sofa in the house and I have to look at it and hate it every day,
Right.
It's just a sofa. You can
It
still
is.
sit on it and think of all the people in the world that don't have a sofa.
Right.
And that's kind of how I roll. A lot of people say, like, well, you know, yeah, you have to be with it every day and, you know, you have to like it. But I disagree. I think people put too much emphasis on the wrong things. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. It's kind of fitting that we talk about that right now. We're going through a little remodel project at home. And you're right. And I've had those same thoughts. A slightly different wall color, maybe not exactly what I wanted, but is it really worth it? You got to really look at the situation and decide whether or not the argument or the anxiety created in a situation, you need to step back from it and just say, is it really worth it? And in business as well. I mean, there's some things in business that might have a major financial impact, so they do require a lot more investment of your time and energy and emotion, but there's some things that just aren't worth it, is the bottom line. Don't let yourself get sucked into burning up all this emotional energy on a situation that doesn't require it.
So you mentioned that your business is growing. Do you think about the importance of finance? Do you think sometimes people put too much emphasis on finance? Because with me, And again, we're all different. I believe a lot of people do put a lot of emphasis on finance. I think you have to be careful with finance. I think it's really important to want money, to make money, as long as you do something good with money. So as you grow, I always feel like you should be doing charitable things and whatnot. That some people, I mean, to me, it's money. You can make it, you can lose it, you can make it, you can lose it. I don't mean that carelessly, but sometimes people put so much emphasis on money that it destroys business relationships or personal. Would you agree with that?
I would, and it not only destroys relationships, but also if you just focus on the bottom line, on the dollars and cents of any situation. In my case, we do a lot of contracting type work, and if you just nitpick it to death, all you're doing is saving pennies here, saving pennies there. But if you keep the situation a lot more positive, don't focus on every little dollar, I find that 9 times out of 10, the project turns out better, more profitable, without you micromanaging it and just, digging into every little minute detail, because that expends so much of your personal energy that you can't spend on other things that, it's just not worth it.
I think that goes a lot with attraction, and you know how I teach about energy, and I feel like, focus on what you want and keep your mind off of what you don't want. Like people who are always worried about the money because of debt, and I got to get, oh my gosh, I have all these bills and I can't pay them, but you're keeping your mind so focused on debt, that's what you seem to attract, more and more debt. You go to the mailbox, you have another bill.
Yeah.
It's funny, I coached a corporate man. I really pushed him not to focus on the bottom line. And we worked on a plan, so we weren't ignoring what needed to be done, but just don't focus on it. And he couldn't do that. And, years later, he came in and just laughed and thanked me. And he said, you realize when I stopped focusing on money is when I started to make money.
Yeah, and I found that too. When I first started coaching with you, that was one of my primary objectives, is to work on the balance between family and business. And so I find that spending less time at my business and making time for, going fishing with my wife or going on my Wednesday night bike ride, that we're more profitable, we're making more money without focusing on those. I mean, when I started out, I felt that I needed to be there every hour and I need to account for all my time at my business. And I was reluctant to delegate. But now that I delegate more selectively to the right people, everything's going much better.
And your wife's happier.
And my wife's happier.
When mama's happy, everybody's happy.
Very much so.
Well, Mike, thanks for being a guest. I hope you'll come back again. And again, I'm Peggy Caruso from Life Coaching and Beyond. And if you need more information about me, you can go to my website at www.lifecoachingandbeyond.com. And Mike, if someone were interested in your services or how to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
Yeah, by all means, if we can help anybody out, please. My email is mbuerk@summitconsultingservicesllc.com. Please reach out to us.
And is Summit SUMMIT?
Correct.
Okay, because some people put 2 T's, and I just wanted to make sure they were
Yep.
aware of that. And if you can't find Mike, you can always reach out to me, and I can put you in touch with him. Thank you again, and everybody have a good day.